Welcome back to Unlock, Empower, Transform with Shay Blackman, where we have the conversations everyone's thinking, but nobody's saying out loud. I'm Shay, and this is episode 36. Today we're talking about the generation everyone forgets exists, Gen X. You know, those of us sandwiched between the boomers who won't retire and the millennials who apparently invented work-life balance. We're the generation that literally raised ourselves, figured out technology without YouTube tutorials, and somehow became leaders without anyone noticing we were in the room. Let's start with some truth. Gen X makes up only 65 million Americans compared to 72 million boomers and 73 million millennials. We're literally outnumbered. But here's what those numbers don't tell you. We're running more organizations than any other generation right now. We just don't make noise about it. We're the Latchkey generation. The ones who came home to empty houses, made our own dinners, and figured out homework without Google or helicopter parents. We learned independence wasn't a choice, it was survival. And now, that survival toolkit we developed is exactly what makes us exceptional leaders in today's chaos. Think about it. We navigated our parents' divorces at record rates. We entered the workforce during recessions. We've been laid off, restructured, and right-sized more than any generation before us. And we're still here, still leading, still adapting, but nobody talks about us. Every article is about millennials in the workplace or boomers refusing to retire. Meanwhile, Gen X is quietly holding organizations together, bridging generational gaps, and solving problems without needing recognition for every achievement. So what makes Gen X leaders different? Let me paint you a picture. We're the only generation that's fully analog and fully digital. We remember card catalogs, and we can troubleshoot our own computers. We wrote papers on typewriters, and now we're implementing AI. That's not just adaptability, that's revolutionary flexibility. Here's what I've observed in my 24 years of HR leadership. Gen X leaders have 5 distinct strengths that nobody else brings to the table quite like we do. First, we're translators. We speak boomer and we speak millennial. We can navigate traditional hierarchies and flat organizations. We understand that's how we've always done it, and let's disrupt everything. We're the bridge. Second, we're self-sufficient to a fault. We don't need constant feedback. We don't need our hands held. Give us a problem and resources, then get out of the way. We'll figure it out because that's literally what we've been doing since we were 8 years old. Third, we're skeptical optimists. We question everything because we've seen institutions fail, but we still believe in building better ones. We don't trust blindly, but once you earn our trust, we're loyal beyond measure. Fourth, we're pragmatic innovators. We don't change things just to change them. We've seen enough revolutionary initiatives fail to know that sustainable change happens incrementally. We innovate with purpose, not for headlines. Fifth, and this is huge, we're comfortable with discomfort. Uncertainty doesn't paralyze us. We grew up with it. Economic instability, been there. Technology disruption, lived through it. Global pandemics, just another Tuesday for Gen X. The Shield Resilience Strategy Guide talks about adaptive resilience, the ability to bounce forward, not just back. Gen X doesn't just survive disruption. We use it as fuel for transformation. Now here's where it gets interesting. Those survival skills we developed as latchkey kids, they're exactly what organizations need right now. Remember figuring out dinner when you were 10? That's resource optimization. Remember mediating between divorced parents? That's stakeholder management. Remember teaching yourself to program the VCR? That's self-directed learning. There was a technology company facing massive disruption. They brought in a Gen X leader who'd grown up in a single-parent household, working since she was 14. Everyone questioned the hire. She didn't have the traditional pedigree, but she understood scarcity. She understood making something from nothing. She transformed that organization by applying the same resourcefulness she'd used to survive childhood. Cut costs by 30% while improving employee satisfaction. How? She knew how to do more with less because she'd been doing it her entire life. We need to stop hiding these stories. Stop pretending we got here through traditional paths when we know we carved our own. Your survival skills aren't weaknesses to overcome, they're superpowers to leverage. Think about emotional regulation. Gen X learned to self-soothe before it was a therapeutic term. We processed our emotions alone, after school, before parents got home. Now we're the leaders who stay calm in crisis, not because we don't feel the pressure, but because we learn to function despite it. Or consider problem solving. We didn't have Google. We had to figure things out through trial and error. Now we're the leaders who don't panic when the first solution doesn't work. We're used to iteration. We're comfortable with failure as a data point, not a verdict. And let's talk about authenticity. Gen X doesn't do performative. We're too tired for that. We saw our parents' marriages fail despite perfect facades. We watched institutions crumble despite impressive mission statements. We lead with radical honesty because we've seen what happens when you don't. This is exactly why at CBC, our development approach isn't about fixing what's wrong with you. It's about amplifying what's already right, especially for Gen X leaders who've been told their whole careers they need to be more like boomers or more like millennials. No, you need to be more like yourself, just amplified. Our strengths-based approach starts with recognition. We help leaders identify the survival skills they've been using unconsciously and transform them into conscious leadership strategies. That independence you developed, that's visionary leadership, that skepticism, that's risk management, that ability to work without recognition, that's sustainable motivation. We use a framework called Translate, Elevate, Integrate. First, translate your survival skills into leadership language. Stop saying, I had to figure it out, and start saying, I innovate solutions independently. Elevate these skills from reactive to strategic. You're not just solving problems as they arise, you're anticipating and preventing them. Then integrate these strengths into your leadership brand intentionally, not accidentally. The High Value Leadership book dedicates an entire chapter to strengths-based culture building, because when leaders understand and leverage their authentic strengths, they create environments where others can do the same. It's not about fitting a mold, it's about breaking it and building something better. What makes our approach different is we don't start with assessments and frameworks. We start with stories, your stories, the moments that shaped you, the challenges that built you. Because your leadership style wasn't born in a classroom, it was forged in experience. Ready to tap into your Gen X superpower? Here's an exercise called the Survival Skill Inventory. It takes 15 minutes and will revolutionize how you see yourself. Write down 3 challenges you faced before age 18, real ones: parents' divorce, economic instability, being alone after school, moving constantly, whatever shaped you. For each challenge, identify the skill you developed to cope: independence, resourcefulness, adaptability, emotional regulation, problem solving. Be specific. Now here's the transformation part. For each survival skill, identify how you use it in leadership today, but frame it as a strategic advantage, not a coping mechanism. For example, being a latchkey kid becomes developed autonomous decision-making and self-directed problem-solving capabilities. Navigating divorced parents becomes expertise in stakeholder management and competing priority navigation. This isn't corporate buzzword bingo. This is recognizing that your unconventional path created unconventional strengths. And in a world that needs innovative leadership, unconventional is exactly what's required. Document one specific example of how you've used each survival skill in a professional context this month. You'll be amazed at how often you're drawing on that childhood toolkit without even realizing it. This connects directly to the resilience framework in the Shield Resilience Strategy Guide, particularly the section on transforming challenges into capabilities. Here's what I need you to understand. Gen X, We're not the forgotten generation. We're the foundation generation. We're holding organizations together while everyone else is having generational wars. We're translating between old and new, traditional and innovative, analog and digital. But it's time to stop being invisible. Stop downplaying your survival skills. Stop pretending you got here the traditional way when you know you carved your own path. Your unconventional journey is your competitive advantage. The organizations that will thrive in the next decade are the ones that recognize and leverage GenX leadership. We're the steady hands in chaos, the translators in confusion, the builders who've already rebuilt ourselves multiple times. If this resonated with you, download the Shield Resilience Strategy Guide. There's an entire section on transforming survival skills into leadership assets. Drop a comment. What Gen X survival skill do you use most in leadership today? Let's celebrate these strengths instead of hiding them. And for those ready to fully leverage your unique leadership style, this is exactly what we explore in High Value Leadership and the upcoming intensive course. Because authentic leadership isn't about fitting in, it's about standing out strategically. Speaking of standing out, next Tuesday, episode 37. The Innovation Paradox: Why Experience Beats Youth in Creative Problem Solving. We're challenging every assumption about who can innovate and why experience might be your secret weapon. You're not going to want to miss this myth-busting episode. Until then, this is Shay Blackman reminding you that your scars are your strengths, your survival is your superpower, and your experience is exactly what leadership needs right now. Keep unlocking, keep empowering, and keep transforming.